Stuart, a software-based one here. What do you see, or what do we see, as some of the key trends and drivers within the software market at the moment?
Okay, so we've got a handful of things, I think, there, maybe 4, maybe 5. Just aware that I'm probably standing in between you and beer now, so I'll try and be as succinct as possible. The first one's cloud, so the dreaded C word. So like it or not, it's there. What it represents is an unprecedented move to try and capitalise on economies of scale. So that's both on the provider side and on the consumer side. So how do the big providers actually make that possible? Well, that's through automation. And how do they go about making automation possible? That's through standardization. So all the types of technologies that go to provide that and to make a provider able to do that, things like billing, things like metering, things like cross-charging, monitoring, all these type of things are all technologies that also can be used in your data center to make your IT infrastructure more effective and more efficient. The interesting movement for software, I think, within cloud is the fact that there's very few companies that are going to have all of their application infrastructure hosted in the cloud. So I've been to the Amazon EC2 events where there's startups that have, but we're all realists here, and we've all been around for a while probably, is the notion of the hybrid cloud. So you're going to have some stuff in your data center, you're going to have some stuff out in potentially the public cloud. How do you get those two things to talk to each other? And that's really one major big movement within software. So that's the first. Second is mobile. So it's another one of these things that just is. So, it's very prevalent that people use mobile devices not just to access cool applications, but also to access enterprise systems in their workplace. And those two things are separate streams of development within mobile. So you got the young guys going and developing cool applications. Like, has anybody seen Word Lens? So that's the application that you hold, and it uses your camera to actually look at a foreign language and translate it into your chosen language, say English if you like, and actually show it as augmented reality over the text in the same font. Technology's at its best when it's indistinguishable from magic, and that's kind of one of those things that, it really is magical, isn't it? And it's the sort of thing that you find interesting in IT. But there's a very great demand on the ability to actually use your mobile device in the workplace and actually access enterprise systems and develop grown-up applications for grown-ups. And how do you go about doing that in a very sort of, an agile way, and not stifling that creativity, but also making sure that you have the correct governance processes, the correct sort of release processes, and also the correct ability to manage those devices out in the field. So the third thing, I think, is big data. So it's another one of these terms, isn't it? So big data. So I like to kind of try and pick it apart. Data is not really anything in its own right. We like to kind of think that it is in some ways. But in reality, data is only useful when you interpret it, when you analyze it, when you get insights from it. And that data can exist either in your data center, traditionally, structured data in your database, great. That's probably where most of your insights lie. But increasingly, there's two things that are driving big data. Firstly is the much touted, there's a huge amount of IP-enabled devices, and that number is growing in the marketplace, in the wider world. 20 billion devices by 2015 is one stat. They're all big numbers. They're all, there's different stats, but they're all very big. So that's producing a lot of data, storing a lot of data, and that contains insights. Second is that we're now being able to interpret and analyze data that exists out there that wasn't seen as data previously. So we mentioned, a lot of this stuff's been mentioned already by our IBM speakers, that unstructured and document data and data accessible via APIs, government open data, can all be aggregated and interpreted along with data in your data center to build models about your consumers that you could never even dream of up until relatively recently. So as that scales up and up and up and up and up, you're going to need a greater analytics capability to be able to do that. Next one, so social. So there's two streams to social, I believe. Firstly, it's capitalizing on those insights within social media and the data that exists where people are talking about your business. They're doing it regardless of whether you're capturing it, understanding it, acting on it. That's relatively unstructured data. But also there's another strand of social, which is to make it so that your employees can collaborate with each other more effectively within your workplace and with your partners and with your suppliers. So those two things go kind of hand in hand. I guess the first one is kind of a given, really. That before the customers used to shape your business using their feet. So if they didn't like what you were doing, they would just go and shop elsewhere. Whereas now they can affect your business directly using their fingers. So they just go and talk about you, and that can affect your reputation without you even knowing about it. But you can act on that information and change your business without just wondering why your sales are disappearing. Another thing, final thing, integration. So this is an issue that isn't going away. Typically within IT, we don't integrate very well. The technology has been there for a very long time. And there's a lot of new advancements, and WebSphere Cast Iron is a great way of getting applications to talk to each other, not just technologies to talk to each other. But typically, we don't do this very well. And integrations that can be developed and deployed within a matter of minutes can still, in today's, can make a business user cry with happiness that, that they've saved a great amount of time and effort that they've been doing stuff very manually previously. Cloud makes integration more important because you're partnering with lots of other external organizations potentially. But SOA, service-oriented architecture, is arguably the best way of going about integration. So those are the 5 streams.
Excellent. Succinct.